Hello and welcome to Global News Today here on Arabiya English with me, your host, Michael Prendergast. And coming up in today's show, I speak with Mark Epstein, the brother of disgraced paedophile billionaire Jeffrey Epstein, as questions around the case continue to surface long after Jeffrey's death in a Manhattan jail in 2019. Also, Pakistan's IT Minister Sheza Fatima Khawaja, she joins us to talk AI, youth innovation and tech ties with the Gulf. A story that's gripped headlines, sparked endless conspiracy theories online, and even transcended politics. Jeffrey Epstein, who died by suicide in a Manhattan jail in 2019, according to the Department of Justice, is a story that won't just go away. Well, joining me now is his brother Mark Epstein to discuss this saga further. Thanks for your time, Mark. You're speaking to us from an undisclosed location for security concerns. Are you afraid for your life?
No, I'm not afraid for my life, but I equate it to, when you cross the street, you're not afraid to cross the street, but you look both ways because you're cautious. So I'm not afraid, but I am being cautious.
You're Jeffrey Epstein's only living relative. When did you hear of your brother's death first?
Well, I heard it the morning that he was found dead. I was having breakfast at a hotel and the television was on. And Jeffrey's picture came on, and they said that he was found dead from an apparent suicide. That's how I learned about it, mid-breakfast. The government didn't notify me as they said they did. I learned about it on CNN.
And you say apparent. You don't believe it was a suicide?
No, I don't. Well, at the time I did. When they first said he was found dead from an apparent suicide, I had no reason to doubt it. He was in jail. He was facing a potential long prison term. I knew he wouldn't want to do that. He didn't have any children to worry about. Now, parents were already gone. He didn't have to worry about me. So there was no reason to doubt it. But then the next day, they did the autopsy. I had to go back to New York. I identified his body, and they did the autopsy. The autopsy was done by Dr. Roman, the city pathologist. And I had Dr. Bodden there because I had the right to have my own pathologist witness the autopsy. And they came out of the room, and I was expecting them to say that this was a suicide. But they came out of the autopsy saying that they couldn't call this a suicide because it looked too much like a homicide. And that's when things started to change pretty fast.
What do you think happened to your brother?
Well, I think he was killed in the cell. Exactly. Why? And also what had happened, they immediately, or within days, they labeled it a suicide because by doing that, it stops any other investigation. Now, this has never been investigated as a potential homicide. And that's where they made the mistake, because it's obvious that they didn't do that. And Bill Barr, the Attorney General at the time, made a statement. He said that he personally watched the videotape and he saw that nobody went in or out of the tier where Jeffrey's cell was, and that convinced him it was a suicide. Well, when I first heard that, I said this is a cover-up for two reasons. Number one, there were about a dozen other prisoners on the same tier as Jeffrey that would not have to go and go into or out of the tier in order if they were going to kill somebody. So by completely eliminating the possibility he was killed by somebody already on the tier shows that he wasn't being straight. And also to think that somebody can get to that door, go in, kill somebody and leave completely undetected doesn't make a lot of sense either. So that's when I knew it was a cover-up. And by calling it a suicide, they don't investigate as a homicide.
There's been a lot of talk at the moment about the metadata of the video. It shows that the video has been cut for over 2 minutes. There's also the insinuation that the prison officers were asleep. Do you believe this?
Well, I know that people have investigated the videotape, and it's not the raw footage, and it has been edited. I mean, the people who do that kind of work, have said that it clearly is not raw footage, and that it's been also pieced together from more than one feed. And there's a lot of things in the video that doesn't make any sense. There's that person or something in the orange blur. They're trying to say it was somebody carrying linens up, but other people have testified or said in the prisons, people don't carry things like that in prison. because you never want your hands tied up. So if they're moving linens around, it's in a cart or someone going to wield the bin or something. So it looks more like somebody in an orange outfit, not somebody just carrying orange linens. Also, at the beginning of the video, they talk about Jeffrey like being walked into his cell. First of all, you can't tell if that's Jeffrey or not. You can't make out who that person is. And you don't just walk into Jeffrey's cell. To get into Jeffrey's cell, you have to go up the flight of stairs through a locked, barred door, and then his cell was on the right-hand side. So you can't just casually walk somebody into one of those cells. Also, they try to make it sound like the doors that were being shown in the video were the doors to his tier or his cell. They're not. That's not it at all. And they've shown that you can get to the cell door out of camera range. So I don't know what footage Bill Barr was referring to, but after seeing that people could get to that tier undetected, and knowing that there were other prisoners that could have, killed somebody, maybe Bill Barr wants to reevaluate his conclusion and come to a different conclusion, because he's looking pretty foolish now, sticking to that story.
And if it wasn't suicide, who do you believe killed your brother?
Well, I don't speculate. I stick to facts. But if this was a true homicide investigation, those are the questions that they would look for. Who did it? And you would have to look at who would have the ability to orchestrate a murder like that in a federal prison, who would have the ability to orchestrate the cover-up that the government's obviously doing on here. When they did the initial autopsy, both of the pathologists, the city pathologist and Dr. Biden, said it was more likely a homicide than a suicide. That doesn't appear in any of the reports. Nobody talks about that. They just gloss over it and try to claim it was a suicide, negating what these two highly qualified professionals said. Even Kash Patel, the new head of the FBI, he said, it's suicide when you see it. I thought that was pretty stupid because, number one, he didn't see Jeffrey's body. He wasn't there. And the question becomes, like, how many suicides has he actually seen that makes him such an expert on when you see a suicide? I couldn't believe he said that.
Do you think your brother had a lot of powerful enemies? He had information on people. Do you think this led to his life being taken, as you stated?
That's a reasonable theory, yes.
Tell us about the relationship between your brother and President Trump.
Well, they were very friendly. Everybody who was around knew that they were very friendly. Jeffrey used to speak about times he spent with Trump. Trump was in Jeffrey's office quite a number of times, and people who worked in the office could testify to that. I don't know why he said he was never there, because that's a very provable lie. They were good friends. They used to travel on each other's planes. They used to spend time together. There's lots of photographs, or a number of photographs of Jeffrey at Mar-a-Lago for different events and Trump's wedding. For him to deny that they were good friends is also, just a big lie.
And it was the same with President Clinton. What was it about your brother that allowed him to have so many powerful friends?
No, I don't know. Jeff and I didn't socialize together. We didn't see each other very much, although we were always in communication via telephone and emails. Jeffrey was a personable guy. He traveled in those circles, and you meet a lot of people in the work he did. I don't find that unusual, because once you are in that circle, that's where all those people are. So you just meet a lot of them.
There's a huge amount of pressure on President Trump to release the files, as it were. What's your take on that?
Well, they're obviously hiding something. Because, look, if this was clearly a suicide and there was nothing damaging, why not just release everything? Why all this cover-up? It just doesn't make any sense.
Did you speak to your brother while he was in prison?
No, I didn't. No, the last conversation I had with Jeff was the night before he was arrested. He was in Paris. He flew home the next day, and he was arrested in July. So it was Thursday night. He called me from Paris. But just a normal talk, what's new kind of call. We used to keep each other abreast of what was going on. Nothing out of the ordinary on that phone call. And then the next day he flew home and he was arrested. And that was the last conversation Jeff and I had.
Were you close with your brother?
Yeah, we were close, but we didn't get together. because he had his life and his circles, I had mine. We have homes in different cities. So we weren't always in the same city together. That's number one. And even in New York City, where we would both be at times, he lives uptown. I spend my time downtown. So there wasn't any reason necessary for us to get together, but we were always in communication. So we were close that way.
Ghislaine Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year sentence in jail at the moment for being an associate of your brother, should she be afraid of her life, in your opinion?
I'm not really the one to be the expert to give you an answer on that. I mean, she should also be cautious, I would say, because, people are dying. But it also depends what course of action she takes. I don't know what she has said or what she's going to say. So, she should bear in mind that, yes, people have been killed already.
There's also been a lot of speculation that your brother was somehow associated with Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency. What do you think of that speculation?
Well, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's just speculation. I have no knowledge of that, so I can neither confirm nor deny. I'm not the right person to ask that. I don't know about that.
When did Jeffrey first tell you about his crimes, and did he ever admit?
Yes, in 2006, I believe, when he first was getting into trouble, he asked me to come talk to him. So I went to see him, and he told me then that he was getting into trouble because he was with girls that were too young. He admitted he was stupid, and that he was with girls that were too young, and he was getting into trouble for that, and he wanted me to hear it from him. So he told me. So this way I didn't hear it just on the news or something. So that was when I first found out in 2006.
And how difficult was that for you to hear as his brother?
Well, I wasn't happy about it, but like I've said before, I believe in consequences and ramifications for your action. He was stupid, as he said. He got into trouble, so he was going to have to, pay the price, whatever that was going to be. I didn't mean for it to take his life, but he would have to fight the charges, because he admitted that he was wrong. I wasn't happy to hear it, but, again, our parents were gone, so they didn't have to go through that. So, I just accepted it.
And how has this affected your life? You share the same name in terms of jobs, in terms of friends, in terms of events. How has this affected your life?
Well, first of all, I've been retired a long time already, so I don't have to worry about a job situation. There's a lot of Epsteins around, so it's not like that much of an issue. I mean, at the early part, I did have a number of death threats for myself and against my children. I was dealing with the FBI and the New York City Police Department, dealing with that. That has kind of calmed down. And I've just been trying to focus a lot of time on coming to the realization or dealing with the realization that Jeffrey did not commit suicide. And, if he didn't commit suicide, and like everyone who looks at all the information, nobody thinks he committed suicide. Well, then the next step is to figure out, well, who killed him? Why was he killed? That's what an investigator looking at a homicide, those are the questions they would ask. Who would have the ability to pull something like this off in a federal prison? And who'd be afraid to have Jeffrey still alive? And who did it? Who actually, pulled the trigger, so to speak? Who sanctioned this? So that's what the next round of investigation should look at. And people are starting to ask these questions. I was dealing with a group just recently of independent investigative people, nothing to do with me. They weren't working for me. And they were using AI to help try to nail this down. And they put in all the information they had and all the anomalies that took place with the cameras not working and the guards sleeping and the broken bones in Jeffrey's neck that don't match a suicidal hanging, and the AI came up with the probability that it was 75% chance that it was a homicide and only 25% chance it was a suicide. It couldn't be more accurate because we didn't have photographs or we don't know exactly how Jeffrey was found the morning that they found him dead. There's a description that came out a couple of years ago in the Justice Department report, but some of the things from the autopsy don't really match that description. So, and also the broken bones in Jeffrey's neck, the 3 breaks, the hyoid bone and the 2 cartilages from the thyroid cartilage, less than 2% of suicidal hangings end up with those 3 breaks like that, less than 2%. So again, it makes it much more likely it was a homicide.
And in terms of the investigation,
those kind of breaks from a homicide, from a strangulation.
And in terms of the investigation, you believe it should be reopened as a murder case?
Yeah, absolutely. But then the question becomes, who's going to investigate it? Since the Department of Justice is already covering this up, could you get them to do an honest, clean investigation? That's questionable, which is a real shame if Americans can't trust the Justice Department to do an honest investigation. That's a real sad state of affairs.
And speaking of your brother, he died a very wealthy man. There's a lot of talk about his trust. Obviously, it still has hundreds of millions of dollars in it. Are you a benefactor of that?
No, Jeffrey and I were not in each other's wills traditionally. I didn't need his money. He didn't need mine. I'm not an executor of his estate, so I have nothing to do with his estate. In the will that was published, it said that I'm his sole heir. He states that I'm his sole heir. And if there was no will, I would inherit his entire estate, being his sole heir. But it says that in the will, which means there is a will, which means I do not inherit his entire estate. All of his assets went into a trust, and the trust dictates what's supposed to be done with his money. I'm not a trustee. I have no idea what the trust says. So, I have nothing to do with his estate.
And speaking of Donald Trump, as we were earlier, President Clinton was also on his plane over 20 times. What's your opinion on the association between President Clinton and your brother?
Okay, one of the things about the flight, just to be clear, Jeffrey took Clinton and some other people to Africa years ago. There was some AIDS trip. They were stopping in many places. So they're counting each leg of that trip as a separate flight. So if they start, if they made, I don't know how many they did, but on that one trip to Africa, if they stopped in 10 different locations, they're counting that as 10 flights for Clinton. So it's a little bit misleading. I know Jeffrey was close with Clinton. Jeffrey always admired Clinton. He liked being around with him. And Jeffrey flew many people on his planes. So I don't see anything telling about that.
And Jeffrey had some very unusual art in his house. He had a famous photograph, or a painting as it were, of Bill Clinton in a dress.
Yeah, I've heard about that. I don't think I've seen it. Like I said, I wasn't in Jeffrey's house for many years. So he had a lot of art. He had all kinds of things there. He had an interesting collection.
We're just running out of time. So just lastly, are you hopeful that you're going to get justice for Jeffrey?
I'm hopeful, yes. Whether it happens or not, who knows? It may be difficult while this administration is in power, but maybe one day. Look, we still don't know all the facts about JFK or Martin Luther King, so this may be another one of those mysteries that go down in history. But people should be aware that he did not commit suicide. It certainly doesn't look like he committed suicide. It most certainly looks like he was murdered.
Mark Epstein, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks so much for your time, Sheza. I'd like to start off this interview by asking, what's the big goal of Pakistan's new AI policy?
Thank you so much for having me here today. I think this is a big moment for Pakistan as we just launched our national AI policy. And if you ask me today, I think it is overall, it's based on 6 pillars. But if you ask me the big goal, it is essentially the enablement of our people on 3 levels. The first is our young students who are now going to be entering into the employability stage. The second is our existing industry and sectors across the country, whether it's agriculture, whether it's education, health. So an AI enablement across sectors. And the third is the AI enablement in governance. So as artificial intelligence takes the world by a storm, I believe that Pakistan is getting ready and rather is quite ahead when it comes to AI readiness and enablement. So this is the the larger target, if you ask me. But if I go more specific, I would say that by the end of about 2 to 3 years, we will have over 1 million AI professionals, hardcore artificial professionals, trained and enabled with artificial intelligence skills. We intend to have about 1,000 patented AI products. So we want to move towards a more product-based market. We intend to have 1,000 publicly and privately funded AI research ventures. So we're going to be establishing an AI fund under this policy, which is going to be supporting our researchers, giving out scholarships, supporting our startups. So about 1,000 publicly and privately funded research ventures. We're financing about 400 university-led AI projects so that all the industry and government challenges which require solutions, we strongly believe have to now come from young people, our young innovative asset, which is our youth population. And that is why we're enabling about 400 university-led AI products that will be supporting the government and the industry at large. And last but not the least, we intend to be deploying at least 50 AI-powered civic applications for improved public service delivery. And I would like to say that it all really nicely plugs into Pakistan's national digital transformation policy and the vision of the Prime Minister, which is nicely captured in the Digital Nation Pakistan Act, a legislation passed by the National Assembly and the Senate of Pakistan, which actually enables all of this to happen. So the larger national digital transformation agenda is now going to be baselined with enablement of artificial intelligence.
There's a lot of competition in the space. How is Pakistan intending to compete in AI on a global stage?
I think Pakistan as a nation, our largest asset that I said is human capital. So our primary focus remains on enablement of this human capital. We're a strong country of 240 million people, out of which almost 68% are under the age of 35 years old. That's over 150 million young people. And all these young people are super innovative, hardworking, and enterprising youth. So if you talk about competition, I think that Pakistan will not just be a part of the competition. I strongly believe that with this policy in place, with our training plans that we have of training 1 million young professionals, only this year we will be training about 500,000 young people in different skills, which also include artificial intelligence. But I think that with such a strong population, and that within this larger picture, the basic raw material is human resource. So I believe that our strong human resource is our strength. This is not just a quality, but also a cost-effective human resource. So I think that there's a lot we can do in terms of, taking the lead when it comes to AI. We're also very strongly working on developing the AI infrastructure behind it. We're partnering with international partners. We're looking into bilateral relationships. We're looking into with our developing relationships with our within the multilateral organizations to ensure that this young population is strongly backed by the right kind of high computational power cloud systems, the right kind of the GPUs, the stable, reliable, high-speed internet infrastructure, and the growth trajectory is right there in front of us. Only last year, we added about 25% of additional internet users to the population. We have a population of which 200 million mobile subscribers. So, this is, I would say, our core strength is our human resource that is already leading the way in many ways, but is also ready to lead the world and at least the region in the first instance when it comes to artificial intelligence.
Ethics always comes into the conversation around AI. How do you plan to keep AI ethical in Pakistan?
So of the 6 pillars, I believe that we've reflected upon a few. So I'm just going to go over them, and within them will come ethics. So first was the innovation ecosystem, where I spoke about that we will be developing an innovation fund, an AI venture fund. We'll be developing centers of excellence, data standards. The second is the awareness and readiness. Skilling is something which is core. So that is something that we're highly focused on. And one key things will be the IP laws that have to go with AI coming in. And the third pillar is what you've just asked me about. That is the secure AI. How do we ensure the ethical principles, ethics, and what one of the good things about the policy is that it enshrines the importance of human oversight over artificial intelligence. I believe that's a core thing that goes behind it, because without human oversight, we really cannot be sure if the ethics, and also with ethics, comes a sense of responsible use, comes a sense of inclusivity that we have to build. And in the absence of these elements, I believe that it's going to become very difficult for us, especially as governments, to build public trust in enabling innovation. So it is absolutely core and paramount when it comes to the ethical use of artificial intelligence. I am right now in conversation with the big tech companies where we're looking to, I'll just give you one example. I'm in conversation with these big tech companies to see that whenever we see let's suppose an AI generated image, I strongly believe that there should be now an AI labeling on it, because it's going to be critical for us to determine the difference. Artificial intelligence really, as it becomes better, is blurring the difference between reality and what is actually, virtual. So that is something that we have to be very careful about. But overall, I believe that Pakistan, as a country, as a nation, strongly believes in responsible and ethical use and development of AI. So it's going to be critical, but I think that what is going to be of paramount importance here is going to be international collaboration. This is a transnational phenomena. It's a relatively new subject that we're all trying to grapple with in terms of regulatory framework. So it's going to be absolutely critical for us to engage with governments, to engage with international global frameworks when it comes to governance of AI. And I've recently been to a few international conferences that have very nicely highlighted the importance. I think that it's going to be global engagement that is going to lead the way when it comes to ethical use of AI.
And in terms of any AI deals in the works within the Gulf, in particular to Saudi Arabia?
So Saudi Arabia is Pakistan's long-standing friend. His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is a great friend and ally of Pakistan, is a great friend and ally of our leadership, our Prime Minister, our Field Marshal. I think we've had more trips to Saudi Arabia, our leadership, than any other country right now. I am personally strongly in touch with Excellency, my brother Abdullah Al Swaha, and we've had multiple engagements on our bilateral arrangement for between our countries. Some of those engagements include availability of the computational power that Saudi Arabia has very ably established. We're looking towards what we call in Pakistan the Grow with Saudi Arabia plan. So the idea is to have joint ventures. I'm in contact with the the NTDP, which is actually looking at developing the technological digital transformation in Saudi Arabia. We're in direct touch with Sadaya. We were one of the biggest represented countries in LEAP this year, and our companies were able to really get tens of millions of dollars of deals when they were representing Pakistan in LEAP this year. So multiple engagements on multiple levels are ongoing. Our departments are also in touch with each other. But my primary support would be to B2B ventures, business to business ventures, where our businesses can actually talk to each other, grow with each other. Pakistan, like I said, offers a great deal of value when it comes to human resource, technical development. Our softwares are world class. We top when it comes to cybersecurity. I think that Pakistan has a lot to offer. And we actually open a lot of markets. We have companies that are dealing with over 150 countries in the world. So we're looking into joint ventures with Saudi companies. We're enabling our companies to register their offices in Saudi Arabia, serve the Saudi market. But the idea is to grow together, to use our individual capabilities and competitive power to fuel each other's business and economic and social interests and take these things forward. But primarily, I would say that artificial intelligence infrastructure, the AI-enabled high computational infrastructure that Saudi Arabia has developed over the last few years is absolutely phenomenal. And that is something that we're looking forward to partnering with.
And speaking of growth, as you did, is AI, is it already boosting Pakistan's economy?
Of course. So Pakistan, in the last 2 years, our IT sector has added $1.2 billion just in terms of IT exports. The domestic development and revenue is besides that. Our freelancers in the last 1 year, our freelancing income grew by 96%. So that's a huge growth pattern that we're seeing overall in terms of how technology is contributing. Our aim is to take our exports to about $15 billion in the next 4 years, and also an additional over $10 billion worth of revenue and increase in GDP when it comes to the digital transformation project that the ministry is undertaking. So we're right now, actually, we've started making the Pakistan stack, which enables the interoperability of data across sectors with national data exchange layer. And that is really fueling the economy, fueling innovation, making the right data sets and secure data sets available for innovation. They're encouraging our young startups to actually come up with new products, new solutions for governance. Once this data availability is there are endless opportunities that we can take out of it. So not only the larger idea of national digitization will transform our economy, governance, and society, but it's actually going to fuel the growth that we're looking at. So the industrial growth, the right kind of policy making, bringing in transparency. If I tell you today, the government of Pakistan, the federal government, 98% on e-office, it's completely paperless. We're operating with high-powered, artificial intelligence-based e-office systems, which actually helped us grow 14 ranks in the e-government index of United Nations as well. So, we're really looking towards technology to be fueling our economy. Right now, we think that artificial intelligence directly is going to add about somewhere between 7 to 12% to our GDP in the next 5 years. And that's the kind of growth that we're looking at just because of artificial intelligence. But overall, I believe that Honorable Prime Minister, for example, regularly, weekly takes a meeting on cashless economy. So financial technology is something which is at the forefront. Digitizing economy is something which is at the forefront of our national agenda. So these are the things we're looking into health stack. We've prepared a world-class agri-stack. So SIFC, which is the Special Investment Facilitation Council, powered by the whole of government approach, where Prime Minister and the Field Marshal, General Asim Munir, actually lead the SIFC. They have prepared their arm that looks after the land information management system, a phenomenal agri-stack. If you look at the kind of data it's producing, there is no stopping economic and agro-based development in the country, which is actually a core of our economy as well. So these are the key things that are actually going to bring us many folds, multiplier effect in our economic growth and development. But one thing that I want to add here is that the recent performance of Pakistan in the war that just happened. It wasn't just a conventional war that we were looking at. It was actually a 360-degree fight that we took on with our international partners as well. So that is where the global world, the world now recognizes our power in technology as well. Our armed forces are super equipped with cyber power. Their technological prowess is now something that the world knows of. Our cybersecurity capabilities are undoubted. I think that this is where we've placed ourselves on the map right now in terms of technology as well. So it was a 360-degree war that was collectively won by the leadership and our people together. But why is it important here is that there was a massive role of technology in this conflict, that Pakistan has established that it is better in the region than anyone else who's present. So this is something that we're very proud of, and we're very confident that technological advancement is not only going to lead us in terms of our economic growth, but it is going to bring social prosperity. We're looking towards technology as something which is inclusive. We have massive women-focused, gender-focused projects going on. Pakistan, as per the GSMA report, was the fastest in terms of closing the gender gap. We've reduced the gender mobile internet gap from 36% to 25% in the last 2 years. We're looking at the AI policy clearly make space for persons who are differently abled, inclusivity, ethical use, security, social development. All of this are key to our Artificial Intelligence Policy 2025 that we're looking forward will actually propel and fuel Pakistan towards development, whether it's economic development or social development.
And in terms of war, as you stated, obviously all of the new technologies are always eventually geared towards war. You mentioned the recent conflict with India. You said that you believe Pakistan has an edge in the AI war.
Absolutely. I think that this is where, like I said, whether it was the Pakistan Air Force, Naval Force, the Pakistan Army, the land force, I think that across the board, the technological prowess that was seen was, it's now undoubtedly stated that we are definitely, the capability is much better. And I strongly believe that we will continue to lead this development and progress. We will continue to take the lead when it comes to development, especially when it comes to development in technologies in the defense sector. So we're very confident in the military leadership that is there right now under the leadership of the Field Marshal, General Asim Munir, under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister. I think that in the next few years, you will see even better results coming out with the kind of focus, laser focus that they have on technology, on the sector. I don't think, and with the kind of people, the right kind of people, the right kind of focus in terms of economic budgeting that we're doing right now, the right kind of policies like Digital Nation Pakistan Act that are powering this. We're now going to be bringing in the Data Protection Act. We're looking at reviewing our IP laws. We are reviewing our telecom policy. Everything put together is really going to fuel Pakistan and take it into a leadership role when it comes to IT and artificial intelligence.
And just turning to jobs, as you said earlier, AI is leading to huge growths in GDP, but there's also a risk, and there's a huge conversation in the West, and I'm sure all over the world about this, that it's going to take away a lot of jobs. How do you plan for that?
You're absolutely right. So, when in the first question that you asked me, and that is why I mentioned that the AI readiness in education, in governance, and in industry is something which is a core, at the very core of our AI policy. I don't think that artificial intelligence is going to be taking over jobs, but I strongly believe that people who have the knowledge and skill of using artificial intelligence will definitely be replacing people who don't have it. So it's kind of going to be like, if I'm using AI tools, my productivity is going to be 100x. So productivity per capita is something that the AI skills are going to be targeting. So where we need to focus on is, we are prioritizing the low-tech jobs where AI will be replacing, or AI-enabled people will be replacing these skills very soon. We're looking at international monitors. We're doing a domestic skills demand surveys. We're preparing a live labor management information system so that we are ready for the jobs that are coming in the future. But this year alone, like I said, we'll be training over 500,000 people with the right kind of technical skills. We've converted all of our publicly funded digital skills programs towards AI enabling skills programs. This is how we're preparing our young people. This year, when the school starts, in the federal government, all schools above the grade 6 will have an AI component in their basic education systems. So there has to be a 360-degree transformation when it comes to how we're educating our people. Agentic. So see, it was analog, it was digital, it was Gen AI, and now we're in the era of agentic AI. So the era of agentic AI really puts us in a great position where we can really revolutionize how we learn. So the whole education system and the skilling system is also, transforming. Absolutely, an overhaul in the system is what I'm seeing in the next few years, and that's precisely what we are preparing ourselves for. We are fiberizing all schools that are under the federal government right now. We are fiberizing all health units. We're making sure that high-speed internet is there. We have agentic AI that is doing precise individual-based skilling and teaching to our young people, to our university graduates, where we have made a complete plan of reskilling the people who are in jobs which are vulnerable because of this AI coming in. So that's how we're preparing right now. Like I said, we have a huge youth bulge, which we feel and which we strongly believe is our asset, these young girls and boys. Skilling them, channeling their abilities right is something that is the Prime Minister's focus. It is directly under his leadership. This is also something that he looks at least bi-weekly. Productive employment, as he calls it, we all our ministries, whether it's education, it's the skills, it's us, we all have productive employment targets given by the Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif that we're looking at when it comes to making our population ready for the future of jobs.
Thanks so much for your time and insights, Minister. It was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you.